Hello, my name is Logan and I'm your host, The Mighty Pirate, and in today's episode I'm going to go over how to play the Battletech card game. As it is pretty hard to find the cards it's just kind of hard to find the cards. So here's Tabletop Simulator. I got mine on Steam. I don't know if it's available for other platforms, but I'm going to walk you through how to build a deck, and then later in this video I'll go over some gameplay. Step 1. Load up Tabletop Simulator, create single player game, and then you're going to need to go to the workshop. I've already got the mods we're going to need downloaded, but you're going to go to Browse. You can type in Battletech. Battletech Split is one of the mods I use, and then we're going to be looking for Battletech CCG. So from the main menu, create single player workshop Battletech Split. Alright, I like this mod because it already has the core cards kind of organized and makes it a little bit easier to build a deck. So I'm going to kind of go over this with you and how to build a deck. First off, every deck has to be 60 cards. That's the official rule for how the deck construction is, and there shouldn't be more than 4 copies of a card, with the exception of support cards. Support cards. Everything else is limited to 4 copies. So we're going to go through this. I always played it with either you play it as an inner sphere or a clan, but there's no really official rule that you have to do that. As long as you and your opponent agree on the deck design rules, you're good to go. So for Tabletop Simulator, hold the right mouse button to kind of adjust the angle of the camera. Zoom in your mouse wheel to get a better angle. Then hold the mouse wheel button down to adjust the camera angle. So, because everything's already kind of set up here, I'll show you right click, search, and then that'll kind of show you what cards are available in that stack. Because everything's kind of organized, we're gonna... I just did a Steiner video, so I guess I'll do a Steiner deck. So, when you're looking at these cards, when you're starting off, I would advise aiming towards a lower costs. You'll know what a mech costs. Wow. Wish it didn't do that. Let's see here. Here we go. So, this number right here, this 2, that's its base cost. And it will require 2 progress counters to complete. It'll require another 3 progress counters if I don't have an assembly. What that means is, go back over here to the support cards. If I don't have one of these, that card over there costs another 3 progress. And what that means is that I'm going to have to tap it for a resource. So, once a turn, cards can be tapped for their effect, and support cards produce progress towards finishing things. I'll go over that more later, but we're just going to look at some cards for a little bit. So, Hatchet Man. This will be the first card in our deck. Click it, Control C, Control V. I got 2 copies of it. Drag and drop it on it. Now I've got 2 Hatchamen in my deck. So let's go ahead and look through the rest of these cards. General rule, I think, is 22 support cards, 22 mechs, and then with the other 16 cards you can kind of do whatever you want. But this is a game of mostly mechs and cards that build mechs. So this guy's kind of cheap. So he costs 4, and then will cost an additional 2, or 2 without an assembly, or 1 without a munitions. So we've got a 2 cost, we've got a 4 cost. 1 cost Jaeger mech. Oh, it's well, I guess it's a Davian and a Liao card, so it fits our theme. We're going to use that. Because it's so cheap, we're going to probably run 4 of them. Alright, so then this guy, he's kind of a little more expensive, so let's see what else we can find. Wolfhound. Let's add 2 of those. And right now, like, I'm only looking at cards based off of their cost. There's not really a overarching strategy aside from the fact they're Davian and then they're relatively low cost. I'll get into the mechanics of how to play the game later, but when you're starting out, I think that that's generally a good strategy to kind of aim for, is just trying to get your cards on the field. Alright, here we go. So, got 8 cards out of our, let's see here, 22. Let's make another Caesar. Well, we gotta have the Victor. So 4 Victors. Another couple of Jaeger mechs. Let's see here. That's cool artwork. Oh, a Zeus. Davian staple. Oh wait, I forgot we're Steiner. Fedcom. And then add a couple beaters. Couple of Banshees. Couple Blackjacks. And a couple Axemen. Alright, so we got 24 cards. A little bit over what I quoted, but that's fine. So we're going to take our stack of cards. Hold the left mouse button to drag your stack of cards. So zoom the mouse out. We're going to add some support cards. So obviously we need the assembly because there's a whole bunch of needs for that. When you're designing how many support cards to put in, you want to have all of them, but you're going to want to lean more towards what you have in your deck for bonus cost. So like, got a bunch of assemblies here. So even though I'll want all 5 types of resources, I'll probably want to lean in a little bit more for the assembly or munitions. So, right click, search, tactics, politics, munitions, logistics. So these are the 5 basic types, and you notice at the bottom each one of them has a letter associated with it, and that's the cost that they reduce off of your cards. So if you look at this Blackhawk, it costs 1 extra if you have if you don't have an assembly, a munitions, or a tactics. So, like I said, 22, but having at least one set of everything, or 2 sets of everything, would probably be wise. So we've got this, and then because we have so many assemblies, we're going to obviously just add like 5 of those. Alright, so that's 15. Let's add another run of these. And a couple extra munitions. Oh. Control Z will backspace, so if you made a mistake, you can just Control Z. Once you have them highlighted, Control C to copy, Control V to make another copy. Alright, so that's 20. I'm going to add a couple munitions. Oop. Oh, I won't add it to the deck while I have a screen open with it. Alright, so 14 cards to go. This is where I would start adding cards that are relevant to either faction specific, and if you don't find any faction specific stuff, go here in the middle for the neutral cards. So let's see what we got here. Well, Victor, obviously. Teachings, the unfinished book. Silver Sunburst Pilot. I don't know what that means. Morgan Hasek Davian. That guy seems cool. And Alex Mallory. Alright, well, let's add all 5 of these in the deck. Alright, 9 cards to go. Oh, just 1 card. Let's see what this does. Choose a mech an opponent controls. Roll 1 die. On 1, no effect. 2 through 3, return the Luck of the Fox to your hand after the mission. 4 through 6, prevent all damage done by that mech. Well, that's pretty good. Let's add another copy of that. 2 copies. So 7 cards to go. Well, New Avalon Institute of Science. Well, gotta have one of those. Coventry Metalworks. Well, we gotta have one of those too. Alright, 5 cards to go. Let's look at some missions. Temporary ceasefire. Play only during a battle, roll 1 die. On a 1, your mechs deal no damage, and draw a card after the mission. 2 through 6, all mechs deal no damage. Combat goes sideways, surprise was a ceasefire. Alright, well there's 1 card. 4 to go. Move to partial cover. Well, that doesn't seem very Steiner or Davian, but we're going to do it anyway. Heroic Sacrifice. Play only if you have tactics in play, and only when blocked. Well, not going to do that. Choose one of your mechs, roll 1 die. On a 1, no effect. 2 through 6 prevent all damage dealt and received by that mech. Protect your dude. Seems good. Play only during battle. Choose a mech. Roll a die. On a 1 through 3, no effect. 4 through 6, that mech receives damage equal to its base attack. This damage cannot be prevented. That mech may still deal damage. So 50% chance to cause a mech to shoot itself. Yeah. Good shooting. Choose one of your mechs. That mech gets +2 attack. Seems great. So good, I'll take a second one. Alright, well, that is the last 5 cards in our deck. So, what do we do now? We've got our cards. First off, we flip it over. Then we hit Save Object. Then make sure you write a name that you're going to remember. Save. So now this object is saved in your deck is saved in Tabletop Simulator, so you can just load that up as an object. I'll show you how to do that. Click Objects, Components, type in in this menu, type in Battletech. And there we have it. So when we load up other mods, this will be a saved file, this deck we just put together. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to the main menu to show you what to do from there. So create. If you wanted to play with a friend, you'd hit multiplayer, but since we're just doing this as a demo, you can hit single player. Now we're going to use that other mod. Then we click Objects, type in Battletech. Now we have our deck. So shuffle it up a couple times, draw a couple cards, and that's how you build the deck and put it into Tabletop Simulator. The rest of this video will kind of go over how to play the game, but I felt that we needed to at least have a basic understanding of the interface and what to do with the cards. So, next part of this will be how to play the game. Alrighty then. So, I'm going to go over how to play Battletech. First off, we gotta create a game. Going to use Workshop, Battletech CCG Commander Edition. Boom. Objects. I'm gonna look up the deck we made before. Drag it onto the table. Then after that, we are going to right click or click it and press R to shuffle, or right click and then click the button shuffle. After that, you're going to have an opening hand of 7 cards. You then would normally draw 2, but if you're the first player, you would only draw 1. So we're going to play it as if we had gone first. And if you're the first player, you also only get to deploy 1 card. So we are going to deploy a card, a resource that will help us build our stuff later. So then the turn would go by, our opponent would play 2 cards and draw 2 cards. Now it would go back to us, we would draw 2. And now we're going to kind of look over our cards and try to understand what we have here. So right now we have 2 mechs in the hand, and the Caesar is the cheapest one. So we are going to click the middle mouse button, click it, and press F to flip it. So now it's face down. You're also going to want to have some kind of markers nearby, because this game will have a lot of progress counters. So we're going to go over that here in a second. So I'm going to flip this Caesar back over so we can kind of look at it and get an idea of how this works. So first off, as I mentioned earlier, this number here on the left is its cost. This is how many tap resource it will need before it'll be complete. It will also need an additional 2 if I don't have an assembly, and it will require an additional 1 if I don't have a munitions. So this is my second turn, and I play 1 deployment, and I'm going to put, let's see here, this needs assembly, so we're going to play an assembly card. If you're going by the way the rulebook says, non-completed cards would go back here. Your deck would go right there, and then your discard pile would go right there. So, anyway, back to the turn. We already do our 2 cards, deployment, and then we're going to tap that card and that card to put 2 progress on this guy. Then our opponent would take their turn, they would draw 2, then deploy 2. Then we would go to our turn. Starts off with untap, repair, and then draw. So draw 2. And to try to finish this Caesar and get into the fight, we're going to play a logistics and another munitions. So we already have 2 progress here, and we're going to tap 2 to put another 2 progress on this guy, and he is finished. The mechs that are completed do not get to perform actions. They will go to the patrol zone at the end of the turn. So since we've already done our 2 deployments and we have nothing else to spend our resources on, we will end the turn, and the mech that we finished will go to the deployment zone, or the patrol zone. What that means is, if any mech would attack me that is a slow, it has to fight this mech before it can go fight its target. So this mech can block and intercept any mechs that are coming at us that is slow well, just slow mechs, honestly. The speeds are slow, medium, and fast. So hopefully we'll go through some of the cards and we'll see some of the other ones. To explain some of the other rules on this card, this first number is how much armor it has. This is how much damage it can absorb every turn without causing internal damage. In this game, this mech can take 6 points of internal damage. So if the mech was damaged, it would take 2 points of armor damage and then 6 points of internal damage. And every turn, that 2 armor would restore it, or after the untap step. So that should explain that. And then this is how much damage it can do. You can assign your damage up to any number of targets that are in the fight, but all of it would have to add up to this number. So there's that. So on to the next turn. Untap. These progress counters are no longer relevant. We draw 2. Going to deploy this guy. And deploy this guy. So then we're going to spend 1, 2, 3. That'll flip this guy over. He requires 3 progress, and since I have an assembly, doesn't require this 2. So at the end of the turn, he'll go on patrol. And then with my last resource, resource, I'm going to tap that and put 1 progress on this card. So now that I've done my deployments, I've drawn, I've spent my resources, I can send my mech on a mission. So hypothetically, let's say that this is the enemy and the enemy's deck. So in this game, you have the ability to attack resources. Notice they have a armor and internal structure. Same as a mech. However, the way you win the game is by making your opponent run out of cards. So when they have run out of cards in their deck, they lose the game. So for every point of damage you do, it will cause them to discard from the top of their deck, face up, cards from their deck. And when they've run out of cards, they lose the game. And that, in essence, is how you play Battletech, the card game. When you would go on a mission, so let's say it's the end of the turn, or, well, I guess it's not the end of the turn. I've spent my resources, I've done my deployments. My mech was on patrol, and I'd like to send him on a mission. I would like to send him on a mission to attack the enemy deck. If there was no one to stop me, I would cause damage from the top of the deck until my damage number had been satisfied. But let's say, hypothetically, there was this guy here, and he was on patrol. So his speed is slow. The Commander Edition had a different card frame, but just to explain it, it's a slow card, so it can intercept my mech. It has 2 points of damage and a missile. So what that means is we would add in an object, and then we would add in a D6. And when this mech, this stalker, fires, it will roll a D6. So you click it, press R. Alright, so on the result of a 1, it causes 1 point of damage. on the result of a, I think it's a, hold on a second, let me check the rulebook real quick. For every point of missile, you can roll a d6. When you roll a d6, on the roll of a 1, it causes 1 point of damage. On a roll of 2, it causes 2 points of damage. If you have the munitions card, a roll of a 3 also causes 2 damage. So this mech, on its first roll, causes no damage. So it would have 2 points of damage to my Caesar, which has 2 points of armor. So the damage would be negligible, and I would do 5 points of damage to this mech, and it would cause 2 internal damage. So 1, 2. And that's how you would represent that. And then my mech would be tapped, and this mech would be tapped. And that would be a mission that did not cause damage to the deck. So that's BattleTech. Thanks so much for watching. If you're interested in maybe some better gameplay footage, or some rules explanations, or deck strategies, let me know down in the comments. I'm not really sure exactly what people would like to see. I think this is a pretty cool game, and if you'd like me to do some more research for it, let me know. Thanks so much for watching.